guys, welcome back to another video. It is your girl Libs, and I am back with another video. This is part 2 to last week's video, which I was sitting down with my amazing husband and we were talking about things of engagement, wedding, marriage, all of that good stuff. So this is part 2, and it is a Q&A for you guys where I put a poll up on my Instagram a couple weeks ago to get questions from you guys about, all things wedding, all things engagement, all things marriage. So I'm just going to, spend this episode answering those questions because why not? So bear with me. If you haven't already, comment, like, subscribe, turn your post notifications on so you do not miss a time that I post. Keep in mind that I am now available on Spotify. So if you can't sit down and watch the videos, you can always sit down and listen to them or walk or whatever you're doing. You can listen to them on the go. I am working on getting the episodes on like Apple Podcast and stuff like that. But because it's just me, I'm just doing things little by little, learning things little by little at a pace that just works, So bear with me. But for now, if you haven't, comment, like, subscribe, turn your post notifications on so you do not miss a time that I post. Thank you all who submitted your questions. There were so many questions, more than I thought. And I'm going to do my best to answer all of them or most of them, okay? So I'm just going to get right into it because that's obviously why you're here and I don't want to waste your time. So bear with me. I'm going to be looking at my phone where I wrote down the questions so I can kind of keep myself on track. So first question is a little light. Do I like being married? Easy answer. I love being married, especially because it's my best friend and he's just meant for me. We're just meant for each other. So I absolutely love being married. The highs, the lows, everything. I love it. Now, the next question is a little deeper. How did I know that Daniel was my husband? So if you're new here, Daniel is my husband. We have been married for 6 months now. We got married in May 2025. We got engaged in December 2023. And then we started dating in December 2020. If he's watching this, I hope I got the dates right. But I know for sure we got married in May 2025. So we've been together for like 5 years or so. We were engaged for about 1.5 years, and now we've been married for 6 months. How did I know that Daniel was the one? Very easy. At first, in the process, it wasn't easy, but I commit all my ways onto the Lord, okay? So when I met Daniel, I was definitely over meeting a guy, liking him, he wasn't the one, or meeting a guy and getting into something that I didn't need to be in. When Daniel came along, I was very serious about my relationship with the Lord and I wanted no nonsense. So I prayed about everything and God gave me that confirmation practically. Now I did not get like a dream. I did not get someone coming to me and saying, this is your husband. So of course, was there a process? Absolutely. And here's one big piece that I definitely want to encourage anybody out there who maybe you're wondering, is this the one? I would not say for me that I had just one moment of peace and that's it. I asked the Lord for confirmation over and over and over again. I would pray about my fears. I would pray about my concerns, and the Lord would allow things to just happen and just fall into place so seamlessly. If I give like a practical example, one day I remember I was so vulnerable with the Lord and I was like, God, I really like this guy, but here are my fears. I fear my kids growing up in a single parent home. I fear divorce. I didn't want my kids to have that. I didn't want to have that experience. And there were deep fears within me that I know that the Lord revealed in me even before I, entered into a relationship. And I remember being so vulnerable with God one day, like, God, just give me the peace. And kid you not, you guys, kid you not. The next day, Daniel and I were just talking casually, how's your day, yada, yada, yada. And we just got into that conversation, and it was literally like he was a fly on the wall in my prayer room that day, because he just said, I don't know like why I want to tell you this, but just know that our kids will not grow up without both parents. and divorce will never be an option. And I felt it was not like when a guy just says things to say things. I felt it in my spirit, the genuineness. I felt it like the Lord literally used him to bring that peace that I needed, because I believed him with everything in me. I had no skepticism, nothing like that. So those little things kept happening along the way. The more I prayed to God, the more the Lord would basically quiet my fears or quiet my doubts with just sprinkling little bits of confirmation, a little bit of peace, And that's all I really needed. Daniel had all the traits I wanted in a husband. The Bible gives so many things about what we should look for in our partners. Daniel's fruits of the Spirit, I've always said this to everyone I know, and I will say it again. Daniel's fruits, I think any man who can exhibit the fruits of the Spirit, they're not going to be perfect, but patience, gentleness, kindness, forbearance, all of those things, you can tell and you can see. And honestly, the way he demonstrated them made me want to be better as a Christian, not as a woman, not, surface level, but I wanted to be a better Christian because I looked at how he would react in situations and be like, I want to be like that. And I just knew that that was a man that could lead my home. So it wasn't the surface level things that I said, this is the one. Yes, the attraction grew. Yes, we had to have some things in common. Yes, I definitely wanted a friendship and all of those things, but he had the qualities that I knew could lead a home, who I knew could lead me, who I knew I could submit to, no problem. The way he loved the Lord and the way it reflected to me, I said, that's all I need, right? So I would just encourage anyone who's looking for the one, the Lord will, mesh the smaller details together. But really and truly, you really just need, for the ladies, you really need a man who loves the Lord and who will lay himself down for his bride. Like, look for the traits. Will he sacrifice? Can he sacrifice? Look for the fruits of the Spirit in him. Look how he talks. Look how he treats other people. All of those things. Because I think if you have the foundations, everything else you can work through, So yeah, that's how I knew he was the one. Dang, I spent so long talking about him, but whatever. So this one's a little lighthearted. Did I have input in my engagement ring, or did he just pick one out for me? I think I had the best of both worlds, because he did take me to a place where I was able to try on rings, see what I like and didn't like. And I'm glad I did, because the rings that I thought I would like, or the shapes and stuff, they looked so bad on my hands, you guys. Like, it was bad. So I was very grateful for the opportunity to, be able to go and try stuff on, see what I liked. And what ended up happening is I liked certain things from different rings. And basically, I ended up just designing my own ring right there and then. So it was very nice. It was the best of both worlds. The ring that I have on wasn't an actual ring that was in the shop. I just more so tried on rings. I liked this from this. I liked this from that. So I was like, they were like, yeah, let's put it together. And when he proposed is when I saw the final product. So that was like the surprise aspect for me, which I loved, because I was able to have input. And if you're like me, you don't want to be wearing something you don't like for years, forever. So I liked having that level of input, but then that element of surprise when he got down on one knee. So that's what we did. Next one, how did you and your partner grow differently in engagement versus dating? Now, I love this question, because for us, I would say we had a unique experience, but not really, because I think a lot of people go through this. But I think it was just unique for us because I don't think we even really thought that we would have an issue in this area. But now, when we got engaged, I think is when we really learned, or we had a little bit of a taste of what it's going to look like to really decide and lay down the foundation, what Daniel and Liberty together is going to look like. And we had to learn how to block out other people's opinions, whether we cared for their opinions or not. And we had to learn to honestly just grow up, like man up and woman up, and figure out what our foundation is going to look like and not feed into what social media says, what your wedding or your engagement or your marriage should look like, what family says, what friends says, or what people, express their experiences to have been. We just had to learn how to, for Daniel on his side, it was like the initial process of learning what it is to be the man of his home and to man up and make those decisions. And for me, it was my process of learning how do I support my husband as we navigate this together. It's new territory for the both of us. And I had to learn how to honestly be that helper, be that, person to just provide that discernment or provide that guidance in any way that I could, with love, with grace. It didn't start off that way because, like I said, it was very new for the both of us. But that's how I think by the end of it, or once we got over that little phase in the engagement, we really learned truly how to love each other better and what it was going to look like to be Daniel and Liberty moving forward, and the foundation we were going to set for us and for even when our children enter this world. So that's what we definitely learned. My next one was bridesmaid dresses. How did you choose the right one and where did you get them from? Now, I knew my color scheme. I'm a very beige, off-white, kind of girly, gold kind of thing. And I'm not like too much of I wouldn't say like I envisioned my wedding like colorful and stuff like that. So I knew I wanted nudes. But I didn't choose my bridesmaids' dresses. I let them choose. I just chose the color. I chose this site because I didn't want to overwhelm them in figuring out a site to find the bridesmaids' dresses. And I really just looked up. I knew I wanted satin and elegant. I wanted affordable. I didn't want my bridesmaids to have to break the bank to buy a dress. And I also didn't want them to have to spend a lot of money on a dress that they could never see themselves wearing again. So what I did was I chose the company, which was Azazi, online because they were affordable and they had really nice dresses and I heard very good things about them. And I just said, hey girls, this is the color, this is the website, choose your style, because us girls, we all know what we look good in, right? And we all know what we feel comfortable in and what works best for our bodies. And I wanted them to feel good in what they were wearing. I didn't want them to feel like they were wearing a dress that they hated. And I didn't want them to feel like I didn't want them to wear a dress where they felt very uncomfortable in and didn't also feel beautiful on that day. So we ordered from Azazi. I told them the color. They chose their styles. I think they chose their top three styles of what they would love to wear. And then I kind of from their top three said, ooh, this one looks great. This one looks great. Because I didn't want anyone to come in the same style. And I also wanted obviously to match the theme of my wedding. So I think I tried my best to do a little bit of best of both worlds where bride will be happy, but bridesmaids also will feel beautiful and be wearing something that they also love. So that's what I did. Okay. What was an expectation you had about the planning process that was completely different? Now, my situation is very unique, you guys. I was not unique in the sense of like, oh, I'm special or anything like that, but unique in the sense of it might not have, my planning process didn't necessarily look like maybe what we are used to seeing. So I thought I was going to be that bride that I wanted the whole shebang. Bridal shower, bachelorette. I thought I was going to be like that. It was completely different. My process was completely different. I ended up not having a bridal shower. I ended up not having a bachelorette party, and I was completely okay with that. I made that decision. My bridesmaids, obviously, I think they were very sad because I think they definitely would have loved to throw me those things. But one thing that I definitely did learn in the process of what was super important to me. And to be honest, having those events weren't that important to me for some reason. When I just thought about how I wanted to remember my process, I just didn't think of a bridal shower. I didn't think of a bachelorette party. I honestly just wanted those one-on-one girl times with my girls. So I really appreciated how they showed up in that way. Like, instead of like throwing me the big events with a whole bunch of people and then I feel overwhelmed or overstimulated or whatever, we would just go out for girls' lunches or coffees, and I'd have those one-on-one time with them, especially before I'm getting married. It was important for me because when the day did come, I just truly felt like the girls who were by my side, like, it was just like this. I didn't feel like we were lost in the process. I didn't feel like I was lost in the process. I really felt like I had my girls by my side who I was able to vent throughout the process, cry on their shoulders, but also laugh. And just, I really feel like my best friends were truly by my side. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want to get caught up in the big shebang of things. I wanted to feel that personal, intimate, like, yep, those are my girls. Not that I don't think I would have felt that, but I also just realized I didn't want the bridal shower, bachelorettes, like big events. I just didn't really want that. So when I realized I didn't want that, I just had to think of what do I want? And that's what I wanted. I wanted my girls one-on-one meetings where they would just, I preferred a, hey girl, are you okay? Like emotionally, and for me to vent, cry, say I'm fine or whatever. I preferred, let's go out for coffee and we chat and we laugh when we talk. I preferred that. And what ended up happening is I did end up having just like a bridal dinner, like a couple days before the wedding, and they killed it. Our bridal party killed it with the bridal dinner where we bride, groomsmen, bridesmaids all just came together. We just had a dinner. The vibes were great, and it was a great way to kick off the pre-wedding celebrations. So yeah, that's what I expected, that I was going to be that girl, big bridal shower, big bachelorette, all of those things. And it just wasn't the case. Okay. Next question is, what did God reveal to me about what being a wife meant? What did God reveal to me about what being a wife meant? This is deep. But it's a deep question. I don't know if my answer is that deep, but it's true. I truly learned that, or I am learning what it is to mean a helper and be a helper in my marriage, what it is to help my husband. I think that, when God made Adam and he said it's not good for man to be alone, I'm going to make him a helper. The only other person in the Bible who's called a helper is Holy Spirit. And I think it is an honor for me to have the same name or to be called the same as Holy Spirit, because I truly believe that, as a wife, that's what I'm learning to be. I'm learning to help my husband in the good and the bad. I'm learning to, help comfort him. I'm learning to help advise him when he needs it. I'm even learning how to like honor him, like in his how he wants to be celebrated or how he wants to be supported in certain moments, on how to, provide that space where he can open up when things get tough. I'm learning how to love. I'm learning how to forgive. I'm learning how to be gracious to him. I'm learning that, him being the head of the home is probably not easy. And I'm learning how to help him by having grace as he navigates that as the man of this house. I think that, yeah, I think that's it. Basically, that's what I think, that I'm learning, that what a wife is. How can I help you and how can I submit to you in the way that the Bible calls me to submit to you, not out of force, but because I love you and because I want to be obedient to the Lord. I think that we can, most of us would agree that women have things that men don't have, and men have things that women don't have in terms of strengths and weaknesses. In my marriage, I try to, be that light when he needs it. When there's some discernment that's needed, or some help or advice or wisdom that's needed, I think that the woman brings that value to a man to say, hey, I know you want to make that decision, but have you considered this? Or, hey, something feels off here, so why don't we do this? And my husband respects me enough to listen. He listens to me. And you know what, y'all? 99.9% of the time when I say, hey, something feels off, it usually ends up being off. Not because I pride myself in being right, but I pride myself in being so connected to the true helper, Holy Spirit, where it helps me help him better. I am not perfect. None of us women are perfect, but I truly believe that, when we connect and plug ourselves like with the creator who created us, he honestly teaches us how to love his creation better. My husband is his creation. My husband is made in the image of God. I'm made in the image of God. The more I go to God to help me learn how to love him, the better I'll love him, and vice versa. And that's what I think I've learned of what being a wife is like. How do I just love him better? How do I help him just be the man that the Lord has called him to be? And that's it. That's all. And pray for me, y'all, because we are new to this and I'm still learning. Anyway, so this is a lighthearted one. Flowers, artificial or real? Now, y'all, if you all know about those wedding invoices that can come in, I'm a flower girly. I love my roses. I love flower galore. I thought my wedding was be flower galore, okay? No, because when those quotes came in, I said, this is not going to work. We're going to learn how to be bougie on a budget. So I went with artificial flowers for sure for my decor. I had minimal flowers. Now here's the secret, girls. Men too, if you're into this stuff, but the place that you choose to have your wedding, you can try and choose a place where you won't need a lot of decor. My ceremony, the church was so beautiful where I didn't need that much decor, so that helped a lot, okay? So the decor that was there, the flowers that were there were artificial. I think we just put a few on the pews and we put like some at the front. Not we, but our wedding coordinator slash designer slash planner was fantastic. Ignite Events, I'm plugging her in right now. But it was minimal decor that was needed because the church itself was so pretty. And then we reused the same decor at our reception as well. So yeah, that stuff was artificial. My bouquet was real. And then my bridesmaids, they had like one little single rose that was real. And then like the family, like my mom's boutonnieres and no, sorry, my mom's corsage, our parents' corsage. And then my godfather and my father-in-law also had a boutonniere, and the groomsmen obviously had boutonnieres. Those were all real. So we made those real, but we made the decor kind of flowers fake. And if you're into the real flowers and you have the budget, go for it. But don't sleep on them fake flowers because it looked gorgeous. Like it looked gorgeous. I definitely don't think back and be like, dang, I wish I had real flowers. Like, what was I thinking? I loved it. And then the reception was full of candles. There's the tea. Like, it's not really tea, but there's like a little hack. I wanted those like bud vases and stuff like that, but it's the budget couldn't it wasn't budgeting for that. So we just said straight candles, and our wedding planner coordinator slash day coordinator, all of that, she made it work. I said, okay, candle galore. She just made it work and it was perfect. So yeah, artificial flowers it was, and like other little things to help, make things a little cheaper. Go for it. For example, we had our reception in a restaurant where we didn't have to like pay for all the extra stuff. We just had to pay for obviously just the minimum spend of at the restaurant. We didn't need to pay for the plates, the this, the that. Like I just know. So yeah, we did ours in a restaurant and it was an a la carte kind of serving and it was great. I loved it. So do what works for you, I guess is the point, and what works for your budget. And yeah, the rest will fall into place. Okay. I'm just sorry, I'm looking through the questions. You guys had such great questions. Um, okay, so I think I answered that one. So, what is a topic that came up in marriage that should have been brought up in engagement? My husband and I, we are like this, okay? So we talk about everything. So I wouldn't say that there were major topics that came up in marriage that we should have talked about engagement, and we didn't. We also did marriage counseling prior to getting married as well. So that also opened up some very necessary conversations that should have been had. But I will say, one thing I definitely have learned that we maybe should have spent a little bit more time on are maybe things in the house, you know? Um, it sounds so small, you guys, and it's kind of like, why would I sit there and have a conversation about who's going to take out the garbage and vice versa? But surprisingly for us, those were like things that I don't think we spent that much time on, to be honest. And it kind of surprised us when we got married. And he's probably gonna laugh when he watches this or sees this. But like, for example, when I met him, he was all about, it's okay if my wife doesn't know how to cook, yada yada yada. I mean, I know how to cook. I'm not saying cooking is my passion, but I definitely know how to throw it down in the kitchen, and make food taste good, or at least edible. You know what I mean? So that wasn't really a problem. But I remember when we were first getting to know each other, we talked about it briefly, and he was like, no, I'm okay if my girl doesn't know how to cook. Fast forward 5 years later, now we're in marriage. Yeah. My husband does not like to cook at all. So maybe his expectation was a little bit different than mine, where he says he might have maybe fibbed a little bit when he says he's okay with a woman who doesn't know how to cook, because I don't think that's true. I think he definitely appreciates that his wife can cook. And I think for him, it was maybe a little bit of an expectation that his wife does more of the cooking, because in his words, I cook better. But I just know because he doesn't like to do it, he probably expected me to do it more, where I was going into the marriage thinking like, oh, okay, like 50-50, it is what it is, whatever, whatever. But then I guess we noticed very quickly that that wasn't the case. And I was like, hey, remember when you used to say you didn't mind a wife who didn't cook? And he was like, no, that was just so I wouldn't scare you off. But I definitely appreciate a woman who does more of the cooking. For me, it works because guess what? I don't take out the garbage. I don't pump gas. There's just things that I'm just not doing. If I have to, I will. But I don't know. It just opened up a conversation for us of like who's going to do what in the house. And yeah, it balances out because it's not that he expects me to do it, but he just prefers that I do it. But other things like cleaning is 50-50, laundry is 50-50. Like, so it just was what worked for us. But yeah, maybe we should have spent a little bit more time talking about some expectations, because when I found out he expected me to cook all the time, I said, sir, please. Anyways, now I'm keeping track of the time. I don't want to make this too long, but I just love the questions. What thing did you expect versus the reality of what was in the engagement? So I think I kind of touched on this. I kind of talked about the planning process, about how I was like, I ended up doing no bridal shower, no bachelorette, things like that. What did you expect versus the reality of what was in engagement? So I guess this is kind of the same thing. Yeah, I think it's the same thing. The planning process for engagement, I think it's the same thing. I think I could also add though that, and maybe this is more of a word of advice to somebody. TikTok, Instagram, family, friends, all those, they it's very easy for experiences to be projected onto you. And I would just encourage the pre-newlyweds or whatnot. Your experience can be your experience. You do not have to buy into. People told me, "Oh, something always goes wrong on your wedding day," or this is going to happen, or that's going to happen. I'm not going to say my process was absolutely perfect and there were some heartbreaking moments, but I honestly, looking back, know it was for the good, because the result of what ended up happening was more than I could have ever asked for. And I think the Lord just wanted me to make sure I enjoyed that so much. But I think my advice to anyone out there in the wedding process is, you don't have to feed into the whole thing of wedding planning is going to be so stressful, or something's going to go absolutely wrong, or, something is on the wedding day, it's just going to be messed up. My wedding day was perfect. Everything I could have ever imagined. Will be so for real. I don't think one thing went wrong. I had the best team. I had the best bridal party. Shout out to my brothers and my sisters for making the day great. Shout out to my wedding planner for making the day great. Shout out to my family, for my added family and my biological family. Like, shout out to them for just making my experience wonderful. To be honest, not one thing went wrong on my wedding day. And I just want to encourage you to you don't have to get worried about like, oh, things might go wrong. No, not for us. We were very intentional. We prayed over everything and every single day of our engagement for our wedding and for our marriage. We prayed every day. We prayed over the vendors, every person who would be involved. And we prayed that God would remove anybody who was not meant to be involved. And he sure did. He added the people who were meant to be there, and he removed the people that were meant to be there, down to vendors, to everything. And it was wonderful. So I just want to encourage you, if you're watching this and you are entering into this season or hope to enter this season, keep in your mind, my wedding day or my process can be my process, and that will be okay. And yeah, you don't have to get caught up into what other people say it should be or what it should look like. Okay. So yeah, it was completely different for me and I absolutely loved it. Oh, one more thing I want to add though. My wedding morning was divine. You guys, I decided to spend my wedding morning by myself. No bridesmaids, no mother of the bride, like nobody was in my get ready room except for me, my hairstylist, and my makeup artist, who brought so much peace, so much joy. And I just played my worship music, and it was just me and the Lord, with obviously my glam team, like my makeup artist and my hairstylist, but just playing worship music, ushering in that day, thanking the Lord for everything, really set the tone for me. So if any brides are thinking of doing that, girl, do it. Do it, okay? Last question. I'm going to make this the last question because I cannot see how long this is, but I feel like I've been talking for a very long time. So I'm going to make this the last question, but it is, what was the thing you were most looking forward to in marriage that has shown up or changed? Everything that I was looking forward to in marriage happened. I'm with my best friend. I loved it. Like, my favorite moments are literally when it's literally a weekday. We're like, let's order some pizza. We're chilling in bed and watching shows together. I love those moments. And yeah, I think everything that I wanted for a marriage is, and I'm just so grateful to God. I was looking forward to building a home with my bestie and just creating our own memories and our own traditions and our own way of life, I guess, like setting that foundation. And it's been everything that I've expected, even better. Has it been perfect? No. Has it been hard? Yes. But I love it, and I would not change it for the world. I will say, this is going to be me being very vulnerable with my viewers, but I'm going to say it because I know a lot of believers watch my channel, and I think that it's very important that maybe, I convey this out there. How do I put this in a very correct way? and my husband and I talk about it all the time, so it's not a secret, but when you are a Christian and you are really walking the ways of the Lord and you're really trying to do things the right way in God's timing and God's yes and God's no's and etc. And if you know what I'm trying to hint to, you know what I'm trying to hint to. You know, when you're in a relationship and you're trying to do things correctly and keep yourself pure, one a thing that you look forward in marriage is becoming one with your partner, and you might have expectations and certain things where you're like, oh my goodness. And I'm not going to say that it just has to do with just purity. I think maybe we might imagine just different things about marriage, because I think that when you're a Christian and you're trying to, maintain your purity, you're trying to do things the Lord's way, I think it's very easy for us to maybe jump into what we might think marriage will look like and create a picture in our head. And I think the only thing that I would say to that is, even if it doesn't match your picture exactly, or if it takes time for you and your partner to figure out what it's going to look like, embrace the process, right? You might, being pure for so long with the person you love and want to be with is hard. And when you get married, you might have a certain expectation, and that expectation might not be met. And just because it's not met doesn't mean that, oh my gosh, everything is going to fall apart. It just means that maybe you guys are going to be spending a little bit more time and just trying to discuss, okay, what does this look like for you? What does spending look like for you? What does sex look like for you? What does romance look like for you? And intimacy look like for you? Because in your purity, you probably spent so much time conjuring up these thoughts of what it might be or what it might look like, and then life happens. I've only been married for 6 months and life has happened, honey. Okay? Between moving out from my mom's house, moving into a basement, then buying our own house, and now like things happen, jobs changing, like life be happening, you get busy, and then you really just have to figure out, what does us look like? And you might have had this expectation when we got into marriage that maybe, intimacy would look like this or personal time would look like this, and it's not meeting my expectations. So how do we balance things out? That's okay. Embrace the process. It doesn't mean you made the wrong decision, married the wrong person, and it doesn't mean it's not fixable. So that's just a piece of advice I would give to, the image bearers who are in that season of engagement where you might be like, oh, I can't wait, I can't da da da. And it might happen exactly how you pictured, but if it doesn't, that's okay. And you're not alone. We all newlyweds are figuring it out right along with you. Okay? So yeah, that's all. That's my Q&A for you guys. I think there was only a couple of questions I didn't get to answer, but if there are more questions, I would love for you guys to, comment them down below. You can direct message me on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok now. Getting used to TikTok, but message me them. And if I think that there's a need, like I'll do another part 3 to these questions. Absolutely. Or maybe I can even do like Daniel doing one on the male perspective or whatever that might look like. But this was fun, and I hope it was helpful or encouraging or just fun to listen to. For somebody out there, just remember, you guys, I'm always going to end with something like this, but remember, the more you commit onto the Lord, the more you listen to his voice, like he can help you through all of those stages, like the engagement process, the marriage, the pre-process of all of this. Like maybe you're still dating and trying to figure out, is he the one or is she the one? The more we spend time with God and we learn and train ourselves to know when he's speaking, and then the more we commit onto him after that, it will be much easier to navigate. God, is this you or is this not you? And even as we, move on and transition into engagement or courtship or marriage and stuff, the same applies. The more that we commit to the Lord, the more he will help us. Like he cares. Like I would sometimes even ask God, like, what flavor cake? How should I do the cake? And it would just come to me. Like he cares about the little things. Like if you guys probably knew all of the things that I bring to God, you'd be like, girl, what? Really? Like, is that necessary? And I'm like, yeah, it is necessary. But it just, when I see my life today and maybe what it could have been, I just know that I know why I commit every single thing onto the Lord, because I know that the fruits that I'm experiencing now in my marriage, in my life, in all of my relationships is because of Him. So I give all glory, I give all thanks to Him, and I am truly wishing each and every one of you the best in your journeys wherever you are, and that yeah, the Lord will give you the desires of your heart and you will walk in them like with your head held high, with joy smiling from ear to ear. Okay, I love you guys, and I will see you in the next episode. Comment, like, subscribe, turn your post notifications on so you do not miss a time that I post, and I will see you next time. Okay, bye.